Hello and welcome to a crazy little thing called Thought podcast with me, your host, Luke Richardson, the podcast that tries to alleviate stress, anxiety and depression. Now, this episode is called Why Stress Can Be Your Friend, your ally, basically, an acquaintance rather than an enemy. Now, let's take a little bit of a back step here. So, we all know what stress is. It's something everyone has experienced, some more than others, and it's a feeling when we do get stressed that's particularly unpleasant and something we desperately try our best to get rid of. So, more often than not, this is the equation. Something out there in the outside world makes us stressed. We feel it, we experience it, we hate it. Like, what is this? And we try our best to alleviate it. So we, watch football, or we drink alcohol, or we have sex, or, all sorts of different ways to, alleviate it. We take drugs, or, more less dramatic things like you just go for a walk, or cook or bake, things like that. We do, you get the idea. We do things to get rid of it, and this is the turning the tables of this a little bit. Stress can actually be a good thing, and we'll go back to what we've explained in previous podcast episodes, where we live in a world of thought. Thought is the missing link between all us and our mental health. So if you're having, negative thoughts, you're going to think negative. If you're having positive thoughts, you're going to think positive. The equation's that simple, but the thoughts aren't you. I've explained this previously again. The thoughts are just an illusion of you. You are more than the thoughts you experience. Now, when you understand that, this is where the podcast title becomes more relevant, because being stressed can be an indicator, a sign that you've just gone astray. The stressful thinking that you've developed is taking you on a seductive journey of who you really are. An illusion, as such. It's difficult though, isn't it? Because it just feels so real. It feels ever so real. If you are going through a stressful situation at work, or your personal life, with family, or anything for that matter, it could be in the traffic. It could feel stressful just sat in the traffic on the way to work. Stress is a feeling, like we said already, that just feels that comes through us, and it feels so real. And because we feel it, and we can see the outside world of what's going on, we automatically link the two things together. But the interesting thing is, the stressful thinking we've developed internally within us, and the events that are going outside of us, are not related in one shape or another, but it feels that way. Doesn't it? It absolutely feels that way. We're convinced that we are absolutely convinced that the outside has created our inner feeling. And this is where stress can become your friend, your inner guidance, because if you're feeling stressed, then all you've done is innocently wander off to some, unhelpful thinking. And when you understand that that's all that's happened, you can come back to the real you. Now, have you ever driven a very modern car that has sensors on it in the front and in the back? Now, this metaphor is good because when you're driving in one of those, those modern cars with these sensors on, if you're getting too close to the car in front of you, the sensors start to beep. it's like an indication that the car has gone to a little bit of an unnatural position, and it's a warning that it needs to kind of back off a little bit. The same is when you're reversing the car. These cars, you reverse the car, and as you get close to a person or an object, something like that, again the sensors start to beep, telling you to kind of watch your step. Now that's a great advert, great metaphoric advert for this understanding of the title of this podcast, that stress can be your friend. Because if you're driving the car and you're getting sensors beeping at you, that's the sign you've gone astray. It's the same with stressful thinking. If you've got stressful thinking going on, that's your inner warning that the car, that's your inner warning that your thinking has gone astray, just like the car has got too close to the car or the objects behind it. You are more than the stress you develop on a day-to-day basis. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I had a situation earlier today personally myself where, I won't name what it was, but I could feel the anger, the stressful anger building up in me. And I kind of didn't do the solution to the best of what I could have done, but I saw enough in it to kind of not do anything too destructive. And that's what I'm getting at. When you can see stress as your friend, your ally, and start to get comfortable with it, know what it is, and know how to back off when you need to, it gives room within you to do the right thing. If you've got a lot of stressful thinking going on, a lot of tension, a lot of noise, a lot of upset, then in certain situations in the outside world, because you're internally generating all this aggravation, you might do things that you might regret later on. How many times have you done something in your life and thought, oh, that wasn't a particularly very good idea, oh, I could have done this better, oh, I could have done that better, maybe I should say sorry to this person because that was a little bit below the belt. We've all had those situations, haven't we? All those examples. Now, when you learn about how the mind works, when you learn how stress is not something to be afraid of, that it can be something to help you just to get back on the bike. My kids have started to learn how to ride bikes recently. They're 5 and 7 years old, they're both girls. And at first they were riding their bikes, and they were falling off all the time. And all of a sudden the penny dropped of how to do it, and they got it, they understood it. That's the same thing here. When you develop an understanding of how the mind works, just like how kids and people develop an understanding of how the physics of riding a bike works, life starts to get easier because it's just a game that's being played. When you understand how stress can be your friend, you learn to kind of just ease off the gas pedal a little bit with it, then you'll have a lot more room, as I say, to make the better decision than you could ever have dreamed of, because otherwise you have a lot of mental clutter going on. Stress doesn't have to be something negative, but it's very extremely understandable that we all get scared of it, or don't know what to do with it, or make wrong or poor choices surrounding it, because we've not been brought up to understand how the mind works or how to deal with it. Because the world is constantly being dictated. The world is constantly being, what's the words I'm looking for here? The world's constantly being demonstrated to that something out there is causing something in here. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope you are getting a lot out of these podcasts. I'm really enjoying doing them, and I'm going to make a lot more on topics of stress, anxiety and depression. I really think, that a lot of people out there, millions and millions of people, don't understand how life really works. And as I say, it's not their fault. It's like going back to the bike example again. If a kid has never learned how to ride a bike and they get to adult ages without learning how to ride a bike, we naturally aren't we inclined to think, oh, crikey, someone who's 19, 20, 21, 22, older, and doesn't know how to ride a bike. We get a little bit judgmental about it, don't we? Like, how on earth have they not learned to ride a bike? But if they've not learned how to ride a bike, how can they be blamed for not being able to ride a bike? And it's the same with how life really works. If you're not taught from a young, if you listen to this podcast and other people who aren't even watching this podcast don't know or don't understand how life really works, how can you be blamed for misunderstanding where your stressful thinking might be coming from? It's innocent. You can't be blamed for it. No one can be blamed for it. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, as the old saying goes. I can't remember who said that quote, but it's ever so true. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. The human experience being, the stress, the anxiety, the depression of all sorts of situations. But we are spiritual beings at our core. We just don't know it. Ain't that food for thought? I don't want to speak too long on this one today, but yeah, let's just recap this week's recording, shall we? So, stress is what it is. It's it's something we create within our own minds, no matter what's going on in the outside world. And misunderstanding where that stress source is coming from creates the suffering that we go through. And we tend to blame it on outside things. My wife is pissing me off. My husband's annoying me. The kids are driving me crazy. Work's bumming me out. My friend let me down today. My football team lost. The list is endless of what we think is causing our aggravated, stressful thinking. But the two, as I say, aren't related. So let's recap again. Stress is a feeling that we create, regardless and irrespective of what's going on in the outside world. And if that is misunderstood, if we pin it on those things I've just listed, we're in trouble, because we are obviously saying, I need this to happen, or I need this person to change, or I need more money, or I need my football team to win to not feel this anymore. And it's not true. You can change you can change that internal stress in a heartbeat if you just develop an understanding of where the stress is coming from and where the fix is. And both of those things are within. The stress comes within us, and the fix comes within us as well. How cool and liberating is that, knowing that you are not at the mercy of the outside world, and if you're feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed, you have the power to change it. I'm not saying it's easy, because if you're having a lot of stressful thinking, then that's going on a lot. If you have a lot of stressful thinking that's going on within your own mind most moments of the day, that's not easy to see past. That's not easy to see past if you've got a lot of head noise going on. It's when you start to back off, like the car example again, start to, listen to the sensors and move away from the danger. That's when you have the freedom to have understanding to come through. Isn't that cool and wicked? This is not to say that if you have a lot of situations that are running wild in the outside world, that you don't use your you don't fix those situations to the best of your ability. But when you understand that your psychology and what's going on out there is not linked, you can deal with those situations in the outside world much better. Because stress can be your friend with it. I'll give you an example, shall I? So, I've got children. You guys might have children as well, so this example will probably resonate to you a lot more than people without children, but kids can be kids, and one minute they're the best thing ever, and the next minute you just want to tell them to calm down, and they're stressing you out, blah 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 blah. If I've got a lot of stressful thinking going on when the kids are being a pain in the arse, shall we say it politely, then I'm probably not going to deal with that situation particularly very well as a parent, am I? If I approach my children and with negativity going on in my mind, stressful thinking going on, approach my situation, I'm probably going to do it poorly. I'm probably going to, raise my voice a bit too much. I'm probably going to, make the wrong decisions. Whereas if I approach the situation with a calm demeanour instead, then I can be the best parent ever. And sometimes I get to go through this. Sometimes I think, right, I just need to take a bit of a second just to kind of get my bearings right. Then I'll approach the living room and sort the kids out with whatever argument that they're having to the best of my ability. But I don't always see that in the moment, because this is the power of what we go through called life. It's very seductive. And if you've got a lot going on within the noggin, it's hard to see past and make the best choices. I'll try and give another example, because not everyone has children, do they? So, work. A lot of people work with and without children. Now, let's use this example. So you go into your day job. You open your email up. How many people in corporate world have been through this situation? And you've got 25 emails from that you've not read yet, and about 5 of them are ! Redded. So just for people's benefit who've never worked in the corporate world before, a lot of emails in corporate world working sometimes get red exclamation marks them to highlight how important they are to the person sending them, and they come with a lot of urgency. This situation needs sorting ASAP. How many people? I've been through that situation a lot. I'm sure you have as well in work. If I'm going into that situation with a noisy mind, a stressed mind, tense and anxious, feeling low and depressed, and I read all those emails and think it's a good idea in my low state of mind to tackle those emails, I'm probably going to make a dog's dinner of it, a poor job of it. Whereas if I read the emails and I think, okay, let me relax here. The first thing I need to do before I even read the emails is relax. Relax to let the wisdom come through, like I've been saying. Let the space within come through me so I can tackle these problems to the best of my ability. I'm probably going to hit those emails. Not perfectly, I'm not saying perfectly, but a lot better than if I go in with, like a bull in the china shop trying to sort them out. I'll be able to develop a better understanding with the people sending the emails, a better working relationship with them. I'll be able to sort out their problem the best way that it could be possibly sorted out. It's simple, isn't it? It's easy to talk about like I'm talking about, but putting into real life practice is difficult if you lack understanding of what really is going on within our own minds. So let's just recap this audio recording once more and put a pin on this one until the next one. So the title of this audio recording is Why Stress Can Be Your Friend. Stress is an uncomfortable feeling we all get from time to time. I don't know anybody, I'm sure you haven't, I don't know anybody who's never been stressed before. We all go through it. But the people who understand stress and where it originates from and where the fix is do life really good compared to the people who get stressed, pin it on things, don't understand where it's really coming from and get stuck. And these are the people that sadly end up into therapy with therapists who also don't understand how the mind really works, and they get them to go over their stressful thinking again, which kind of makes no sense, and relive the experience of the stress, and don't really give anything that really works to alleviate it. Sometimes if they do, sometimes they'll give methods that work, and they might work permanently or temporarily, but it might only work for a few select people. What about the other 75 or 80% people it didn't work for? This is where this powerful understanding comes into it, because it works for everyone, because we're all the same. We're all the same, and we all get stressed. We all go through the illusory nature of stress, and we all get out of it as well, but we don't understand where we get out of it, because we either get out of it with a clear mind and life's rosy again and we move on, or we get out of it by going from one stressful thought to another stressful thought. But it's weird because the person's still stressed, but they are kind of moving on because their thinking about stress is changing all the time. But that's no way to live, is it? You want to be having a clear mind, You want a clear mind. You want to thrive. You don't want to be burdened and have your mind in a trap cage of stressful thinking. You want to be free. And this is where the power of this understanding comes in. We'll talk more and more about this as the weeks and months go on. Thanks for listening. Take care. Until the next one. Bye-bye.